Hello and welcome back to the Vibrant Mom podcast. It is February. We're somehow in a fresh new month of 2026. I hope that you supported yourself to give a little bit of a buffer to 2026 in January, that you took time to listen to your life, to observe the parts of your life that you want to tend to with intentionality and kind of an updated midlife level of support. And I hope that you were able to come closer to yourself and to your loved ones as you started the year. And if you're like most busy moms that I know, regardless of what happened or didn't happen at the beginning of 2026, you're probably feeling this late winter, maybe hopeful early beginnings of spring with just a little bit more light coming in each day. You're feeling that renewed desire to reclaim a sense of vitality in your day-to-day life and to really hone in on what midlife vibrant health is going to mean for you right here, right now. I always like to couch any healthcare recommendations or practices in an awareness and understanding shared between the two of us that no woman's experience is exactly the same as another's. When we're thinking about layering on foundational principles that will help us in our health and well-being, it's so important to acknowledge that every woman's context is a little bit different. And by context, I mean the supports and resources you have, the amount of work that you have and how flexible that work is, any unique to you challenges in your health or mental health, and also just that moment in time for you and your family. And what I mean by that moment in time is that I feel like each week is a little bit different as a busy mom. Some weeks feel really seamless and easier to add in some healthcare practices, and some weeks feel full on and go wacky from the beginning, and we don't quite know exactly what to expect. Some weeks our kids are kind of smooth sailing and in their own groove and flow. And then other weeks our kids are struggling either in their mood or with something going on at school or with a peer. And those weeks can be more bumpy for us as moms. And so I always like to zoom out and get a big picture perspective on where we're headed for midlife vibrant health, and then give you permission as you zoom in and try to apply this to your day-to-day, week-to-week life, that you would lead with a sense of generosity and flexibility and even a sense of humor. As you see, some weeks it's easier to move in the direction we're all headed together, and other weeks it's almost like everything is working against you, and we're going to just give ourselves a gracious breath and start again at the next possible opportunity. I did a little bit of thinking about when midlife health is not supported in the right way, like in an updated way, then this is what it feels like. We have big energy fluctuations, and usually it's like midday or afternoon that we have a crash point. We're having brain fog, indecision, and like we're not able to organize ourselves or think as deeply or as longly as we'd like through the things that matter to us. So our brain just feels like it's not working in the same way that it used to. We feel and notice that we're getting sidelined often from our personal health goals by work deadlines or family obligations or kiddo stressors. So when it's not going well, we're feeling sidelined and delayed from the practices we most want to implement. When our health doesn't feel supported, we're noticing, in addition to that fluctuating or changing energy, a fluctuating mood and a fluctuating sense of getting reward or soothing from our old practices. They're no longer working, or the mood just is changing more often, and we don't really have time in our day to attend to those changes. You might be noticing increased feelings of irritability or agitation, increased feelings of worry or anxiety that doesn't really get soothed in the way that you're used to being able to manage that, and more frequent feelings of overwhelm, either by the world's events, which is completely understandable, or your duties at work, or the challenges that your kids might be facing. You're maybe feeling a little bit like a shell of yourself, like you're doing it all, you're doing the best that you can, you're enjoying it for the most part, but that like energy, that color, that richness doesn't feel super ignited or alive inside of yourself. Other signs that your health and vitality could be generously invested in to make a big change is that you feel like you're just not having the energy you'd like to have when you're moving your body. You're feeling sluggish or fatigued or kind of anxious and like pushing through it, but not really enjoying the experience. Or you're not able to exercise regularly. It feels like too much gets in the way, or you haven't quite figured out what your movement practices are going to be in this season of midlife. What was working for you before, either you don't have time to do, or it's not feeling as good as it used to. There are a lot of healthcare recommendations for women. If you're in your 40s, you're probably being targeted with information about movement and nutrition and supplements and all of the things. And it can be really overwhelming to know what movement practices are actually the most important. And I would add, maybe you have a lingering desire to have this like next decade of your life, no matter your age, be one where you feel more connected, more spacious, more loving of and accepting of, and stronger in your physical body. I'm wondering if you're hearing yourself at all in any of this list of what it can feel like when we're not in a sense of vibrant health. I know I can hear myself in this list, and if you can, then you're in good company. What about the nutrition challenges? Usually we're doing our best to get our families fed, get some food in our bodies, but it's so common and normal to just be kind of like living off the dregs of whatever your family is eating and feeling like your body isn't as enlivened and as energized as you would like it to feel, but feeling pretty overwhelmed by feeding yourself and getting good nutrients in your body just feels like another big to-do and a long to-do list. You might be experiencing interrupted sleep or not feeling really rested when you're waking up. And then the thing that I think many of us can relate to is that experience of feeling pushed around more than we would like by ongoing stressors, by the ups and downs of modern life, and just by whatever difficult life experiences we're all moving through. So these are pain points most of us know really well. And some weeks feel like pretty easygoing and like we're getting it and we're nailing it. And then some weeks can feel really overwhelming and like we're pretty far from the type of vibrant day-to-day life we would most like to have in terms of our physical health and our emotional well-being. My guess is that if you're listening to this, there is a quiet or not so quiet, deep longing to feel like yourself again, or actually to feel like a you that you're ready to step into. You want to feel more ease in the day to day. You want a brain that's clearer and quicker and more relaxed, and you want to have energy in your body, energy in your mood, and energy and space in the day to attend to the things that you care about most, not just get through the to-do list of each day. And you probably have a hope that you could feel even more capable and strong and connected within to your mind, to your body, to that essential spirit of yourself. And when I look at the health advice out there and the way it's being delivered, I often feel, and maybe you can feel with me, a sense of like deflation or overwhelm or anxiety, like a performance rev up anxiety or all of the above. Because even if the healthcare information is accurate and helpful, it's usually delivered in a way that moms with kids at home with full busy lives have a really difficult time implementing. So here at the Vibrant Mom podcast, I'll always do my best to give you both good, solid information as simplified as possible, but also some ideas about how you could actually implement those health foundations into your day-to-day life. We are in an information overwhelm world where the information isn't difficult to find. Making sure it's real and quality might be difficult, but it's applying the information in a way where you feel more ease, more spaciousness, not more demand and pressure and overwhelm. So if you're feeling like, Kara, I just don't have time to overhaul my health, like mind, body, spirit, all of it, I hear you. If you're feeling like, oh, I should just be grateful for everything I have and power through, I understand that position. And if you're wondering, gosh, maybe my vital years are behind me, and then once my kids are out of the house, that's when I'll be able to really attend to myself. I get it. I understand. But friend, that is not the place to land for your long-term health, but also for the you that you want to bring to your family, the you that you want to bring to your work. So we're going to figure out together, me and you, this year on this podcast, how we can get you week by week, little by little, to a place of vibrant health. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. We can kind of take a bite out of this experience little by little until we've kind of eaten the whole thing, so to speak, till we've found our way to move from where you are now to where you would most like to be by the end of the year. In a minute, I'm going to give you the big 5 foundational pillars to pay attention to this year. But before I do that, I'm going to give you 3 principles of the way I want you to approach those foundational pillars, the way I want you to think about weaving and incorporating tiny bite-sized pieces of those foundational pillars into your day-to-day life. So the first kind of principle that I want you to let settle into your brain and body is that tiny shifts often make the biggest energetic returns. So rather than thinking about a big overhaul and a big lift that you'll somehow need to support day in, day out, week in, week out, I want you to think about making tiny shifts, small and sustainable shifts that you can allow to build and layer on top of each other. What I observe with a lot of women, and myself included, that there's usually a pain point where we're like, okay, I'm no longer going to neglect this. I am going to get a movement practice in. It should be a given that I can give myself 30 to 60 minutes every day. That is if movement practices aren't irregular in your routine. For some people, they are. For many, they're not. And so you're like, okay, we're going to make this happen. And so then you do your best to create a whole calendar. You've created all the exercise routines that you want, and you're really feeling motivated at the beginning of this project. And you can apply this to things other than movement. Like, let's say movement's super easy for you to get in. Think about other parts of your health and well-being that you kind of feel like you struggle with. So whatever it is, I'm using this movement analogy, but you could sub it in with like eating real food, or managing your stress, or working on that relationship issue that's a challenge for you. Whatever it is, sub that in. So initially, once the pain gets difficult enough, we're usually pretty motivated to do the thing, whatever the thing is. And hopefully that momentum lasts for a little while. But what I see in this very specific season of life that we're all in is that so often things outside of our control, things we weren't expecting, end up kind of chipping away at that motivation, end up chipping away at our ability to follow through with consistency. And then when we have a few days where we're not doing well, usually a big avalanche of difficult thoughts and feelings come in. Maybe it doesn't come in the first time. Maybe we're able to rebound. But the more that life interferes with our glorious plans for how we're going to care for ourselves as midlife moms, when that comes in and we're delayed again to the things we really want, at some point, an avalanche of difficult thoughts and feelings come in. Shaming thoughts, pressured thoughts, feelings of insecurity or overwhelm or hopelessness. We're thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Everybody else can do this, and I'm the only one who's struggling with this. My friend, it's just not true. There's not one woman that I talk to, and I talk to a lot of women every day, that isn't struggling in some aspect of the foundations of our health and well-being, that isn't trying to work on supporting herself, but meeting obstacle after obstacle, whatever those obstacles are, in terms of being able to implement it. So you are in good company, and I think that we need to be supporting each other as women, not just inspiring each other to do what we want to be doing for our health in midlife, but being real about how challenging it is and normalizing the delays and the restarts that we all need to do on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So when we're trying to make a big, huge change, we're usually setting ourselves up for the fall, and it's really hard to sustain a really big change in the busy pace of modern midlife motherhood. So we're going to go tiny shifts, things that we can slowly add in and then get some traction in and then sustain. And then it becomes more the baseline over time. And little by little, we're going to bring our health much closer to where we want it to be. Not with a huge jump, but with like a slow and steady wins the race approach. The next kind of perspective or mindset that I want you to take on before you even learn what the health practices are we're going to be focusing on together this year is that now is the time. It is the perfect time in your life for your relationship with yourself, your deepest self, and your body self, like your embodied self, is going to become a primary relationship, just like your relationship with your kiddos, just like relationships with a partner, if you have one, might be for you, and any other primary relationships you might have in your life, like family members or friends. Now is the era. Now is the season for you to bring that deeper kind of time in relationship with yourself to the forefront. And I'm here to help you with that. But I want you to start to see any of these foundational areas we're going to be focusing on as not another thing that you need to perform or put on your to-do list, but an essential way to build a deepening and maturing relationship with yourself. In your 30s or 20s, you might be able to get away with not really having a solid relationship with yourself. Your health is going to be pretty good, hopefully, like you're going to be able to get away with it. no longer, my friends. We're going to be learning how to bring your relationship with yourself, with your body as an essential part of yourself to the forefront. And then the other principle that I really like to bring in when we're talking about health and vibrant health is doing something because it feels good now, not because it'll feel good later. So hear me out on this one. Usually when I'm talking to people or I'm observing my own mind, I'm noticing when we're talking about trying to motivate our behavior because of a future self. So I'm going to eat this food because future self, I want to look a certain way. Or I want to do this exercise so that future self, I'm really strong. I'm going to do this stress management practice now because later I want to feel proud of myself or I'm like the best version of myself. It is not wrong to motivate yourself with the future self at all. It's totally okay. But what I have observed and noticed that the things that are hardest for us to implement, that future self mode as a motivator isn't actually always the best motivator. It's pretty easy to override a future feeling when we think that whatever it is that we need to do is going to be hard or difficult or just be more work or be inconvenient. We're usually more motivated to help ourselves in the moment versus help a future version of ourselves that we can't even really imagine between pickup and drop off and kids being sick from school and deadlines at work and, all of the things that we're doing on a day-to-day basis. So what I would recommend is you start training your brain to be thinking about what is going to feel good about that maybe difficult or inconvenient thing that I'm going to do now. So let's say exercising or getting to exercise isn't easy for you or isn't comfortable. That's the example I'm using today. What we want to start motivating is not the future, which is like, think about like how good you're going to feel when you're done, or think about kind of what your body is going to look like 6 months from now, or think about your health at an old age. Again, not wrong motivators, but I think it's actually really important for your mental health and an emotional health to instead be like, it is going to be hard to stop doing this work project and start to work out. It is going to be hard to leave the family when we're having so much fun and go do something for myself. Like that is going to be hard. And while I'm doing it, even though it's physically and maybe mentally hard, it's going to feel good to get stronger. It's going to feel good to do something for my emotions and my health that is enlivening and strengthening and supporting me. It's going to feel good to break a sweat. It's going to feel good to whatever you think you fill in the blank feels good. You want to think about what you're doing, whether it's making the food or doing the exercise or doing the stress support, whatever it is. You want to think about what feels good in the moment while you're doing it. And then while you're doing it, even alongside whatever's difficult or inconvenient about it, key into the parts of what you're doing that feel really good. So let me review those 3 perspectives that we're going to be embracing. 1, tiny shifts equals big returns. 2, this is the era for your relationship with yourself to come to the forefront. And then 3, focus on what would feel good about doing it now versus motivating yourself with what would feel good later. So my friend, I'm going to encourage you to apply those 3 perspectives or mindsets into your implementation this year of the big 5 foundational pillars for midlife maternal health. Okay. Stress support, pillar number 1. Deepening relationships, pillar number 2. Pillar number 3 is a midlife movement revolution. Pillar number 4 is nourishment for your body and your mind. And pillar number 5 is rest, rejuvenation, and sleep. Anything else is kind of like the cherry on top. Like anything else outside of those things might be wonderful things, but not what you need to focus on until you get the foundational 5 working really well for you. And if you're in midlife and you're a mom, it may take you this whole year to get that foundation going. And guess what? Who cares? Take the whole year to get the foundation strong and moving forward in a reliable way. So you're going to think small shifts, your relationship with yourself, and what's going to feel good about doing it in the present. When you're thinking about the way you're going to support stress, the way you're going to approach relationships deepening, the way that you're going to experience a revolution around your movement practices, the way that you're going to nourish your body, not for your body to become smaller, but for your body to become stronger and vibrant, and that your mind-body connection is as generous and alive as possible. And then how are we going to get you that rest, that downtime, and that deep restorative sleep so that all of the other pillars are going to work really well for you? I hope when you heard that list, you heard both. Maybe there are things that I need some help with. Maybe there are things that are actually going pretty well for me, so I'm really glad. And maybe you're feeling curious, like, I know my version of this, but what's Kara's version of this midlife vibrant health for all 5 of these pillars? I hope that your curiosity is piqued. If it is, stick with me this year in the podcast. We're going to be going over all of it. And if you're ready for a deeper dive and much better guidance, structure, and community support around these things, come check out the Vibrant Mom Collective. Inside, you'll learn the best practices for midlife vibrant health, and you'll get a stellar emotional well-being curriculum to help you implement it. Because my friend, what I see is that despite our best intentions on working on those big 5, as soon as we start to feel difficult emotions and painful inner life experiences, typically those 5 things in one way or another start to fall off the rails. So we need a strong emotional well-being toolkit and framework to help us move through our emotions skillfully so that our emotions don't end up pushing us around and away from the foundation of those big 5 pillars of vibrant health. In the Vibrant Mom Collective, I am putting together a Vibrant Mom toolkit that I am in love with. They are practices that support your real life, not just the theoretical ideal, both for emotional well-being and for those big 5 vibrant health foundations. Thank you so much for listening. And I'm curious, of those 5 foundational pillars, my friend, which is the one that you want to focus on first in February? Maybe drop me a comment or a note, and I can't wait to hear which of those 5 you're going to be focusing on first.